Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's up and what's going on, traders? Welcome back and happy Money Tuesday. Woo! We are back, baby, ready to attack this market. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get to work with you guys, and I'm excited to lock in some profits, baby. I'm ready to go. Right, coming off of a break-even day yesterday, I'm happy to be here, ready to rock and roll, ready to see if the market provides us with any amazing opportunities, again, to lock in some amazing profits. Woo, man, your boy is hyped up. He's fired up. He's only 1 Celsius deep. And I am ready to rock. Hit me with a big ol' Alpha Day Trading. Good morning. Happy Money Tuesday, everybody. Let's go ahead and start strong. Let's bring some hype and energy to the table with those big ol' good mornings. And then officially, let's dive into the pre-market rundown where I'm going to review your stocks for the day. Make sure that you are prepared, ready to rock, and ready to roll. All right, so hit me with the good mornings. Drop your stocks inside a chat. Let's take a moment to review those. And like I said, make sure you're all set. You're focused. You're dialed in. And you're prepared for the day, guys. All right, Jay Doss, what's up? Good morning. Anita, Steve, Joey, Trader Adam, what's up, brother, man? Josie, Corey's in the house. Mr. William, he's holding it down. Johnny Holmes showing up early. Early bird getting the worm. You got Johnny Holmes up in here. You got Anthony up in here. That's what I'm talking about, guys. What's up? Good morning. And then over on Zatube, what's up? Harjeet, good morning. Prod Cycle. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Good morning as well. And if you guys want to attend the pre-market rundown over on TikTok, go over to YouTube. Go to YouTube, your app. Type in Alpha Day Trading. Click on the channel. You'll see that we're live. You can see my charts, the examples, the analysis, all the great stuff that you want over on YouTube. Right now, right here for the next 30 minutes. Let's rock and roll. Let's make it happen. All right, again, good morning. Where's everybody at? Like, I'm not starting until everybody says good morning. I'm going to be that guy. I'm not saying one more word until everybody inside the chat right now. And how many members do we have? We have 31 viewers. So we got 31 people here. I'm not going to say another word until at least 30 people say good morning. I'm selfish. I'm selfish, guys. Just waiting. No, that's all I ask. I say, hey, when you show up in the morning, hit me with a big old good morning. That's it. Other than that, you don't have to say shit for the rest of the day. That's a requirement inside of Alpha Day Trading. If you're here, you got to say good morning. I'm not talking to you guys, by the way. I'm talking to TikTok. They're saying good morning. Everybody, they're hyped up. Where are you guys at? It's pathetic. 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 William, Johnny, Tracy, Mr. Perez. Good morning. Let's dive into it, guys. What are you guys looking at today? Man, even YouTube is more hyped up than everybody inside of chat. Wake up! Just slap your face a little bit. Just wake up a little bit. Let's go. Let's make some money in the market today. Let's do it. What's up, Chris, Iggy, Ghost, TR15 Hundo, Andrew, Victor, Triple Dijo. Again, if I'm pronouncing those usernames wrong, my bad. But good morning, everybody over on ZaTube. Happy Money Tuesday. All right, we're diving into it. Mr. William, he's ready to rock and roll. I love it, dude. Let's take a look at Boeing. If my fucking keyboard would work. It doesn't work, man. Andrew, what's up, brother? What's up, brother, man? Yeah, dude. Give me a second, guys. My keyboard is like 50-50 today. I got to keep holding it next to my computer. All right, so BA. Oh, my gosh. Come on, BA. Just fucking type. There we go. All right. There we go. All right, B to the A. William, let's take a look at Boeing. At first glance, brother man, I don't really see a lot. I mean, all we really do see is that nice big surge, and we're consolidating. What does that look like? Looks like a daily bull flag. I mean, at first glance, that's pretty much what we're seeing is, again, spike up, consolidating sideways, starting to give us a slight daily flag. And so, like, right now, we can't really do a lot with BA. You know, rip up, consolidating. If we're going to look for an entry on BA to the long side for a possible flag break, we've got to wait for it to consolidate a little bit more and actually start to see the break, right? And actually start to see that volume really move back in to confirm that, hey, you know, we could be flagging. You know, at the same time, what could we be doing? You know, if we do not continue to consolidate and actually see confirmation out of a potential flag, what could we be doing? We could be possibly double topping. That's why I think it's too early to be buying right here, because today you could see a massive drop down and that would start to confirm a double top, right? So anything could really happen. That's why waiting for confirmation is so important, because if you start buying it right here and you're anticipating a flag and you see that massive double top drop, you're just taking an unnecessary loss. So, I mean, at this point in time, let's just mark up some levels, kind of get you prepared. And then really it just comes down to being patient, waiting for some confirmation here. All right. So let's go ahead and push this on a 1 minute time or not a 1 minute. Let's put this on a, let's go into a 4 hour. We'll start with the 4 hour and we'll go from there. I mean, first thing that I want to do is just draw up resistance. And you can see that we have tons of resistance here at like pretty much 240. We've hit 240 for the past couple of weeks now, and we have yet to break above it. And so honestly, man, like when you put this from a daily into a 4 hour, like you actually don't even see a flag. Like you see a bit of that pop and it's consolidating, right? You could, draw a trend line here. You can draw a trend line here and say, oh, it's a flag, right? I mean, at first glance, it looks like a flag on the daily. That's why multiple time frame analysis is really, really important, starting with your daily and then going down into your lower time frames, because sometimes you see something a little bit different. And let's be honest, right now, do you really see a good looking flag on a 4 hour time frame? No, not really. If anything, it's more of that double top formation. So right now, mark up 240 resistance. We clearly have tons of resistance here at 240, and then come back down and mark up your lower level of support. And that's going to be at 230.65. And we can see that we have tons of support at 230.65. All right. So, I mean, at this point in time, there's really not a lot you can do here on BA, right? There's just not a lot that we can really be doing, right? Because we have key resistance at 240. We have key support at 230.73. And we're sitting right around 235. So we are literally right in the middle of main resistance and our main support level. We're just sitting right here in the middle. What is that called? That's a no-go zone. That's a no touch me zone, right? We just don't really know what the stock is going to be able to do, right? Is it going to push on up into resistance off a higher low and then break off an ascending triangle, right? Is it going to drop on down and hit support and continue inside of this sideways channel, right? Is it going to be a double top where we drop on down and crack support and drop lower? Right? We really don't know. We're in the zone of uncertainty, right? The no touch zone, because anything can happen. It could be a double top, right? It may hold a little bit of this higher low and be a nice little cup and handle, maybe an ascending triangle breakout. I mean, anything can really happen. So all you can really do at this point in time on BA, mark up 230.73, right? Support, mark up your top resistance level of 240 and wait for one of those levels to get hit, right? If we come down and hit that support level and start to bounce, right, we could be inside of a channel and you could trade this off lower channel support back into top channel resistance, right? Or it comes on down and cracks that level of support and retests. Then you look to get short on a retest if that's something that takes place. Or if it ever starts to put in a higher low and come back into resistance for a break, let it break. Let it pull back and retest the breakout level and then catch it for the next leg up, right? You can see that we'll have a great trade if it breaks resistance. We'll have a great trade if it comes down and bounces off support. We'll have a great trade if it cracks and retests, that level of support. But right now we got to wait for one of those two levels to actually get hit, get respected. And then at that point in time, give us an opportunity to take a trade. So right now at this point in time, I can't really justify a reason to want to be getting involved with BA right now at this point in time at this price. Mark up those two levels, keep it on watch. And once we get near or at one of these levels, bring it back to my attention. Let's take a look at it at that point in time and really see if we have any trade or really see if we have any opportunity. Okay. That's what I'd be doing on BA, just in observation mode. All right. Apple. Let's take a look at Apple real quick. Right. And so Apple is finding a lot of support down here against these lows, as we can clearly see. We had a gap fill target last week, right? We have this gap on Apple, and we were targeting the lower end of the gap at 175.79, but we never got there. We actually got to the top end of the gap, right? We came down towards around that 176.57. We held the top end of the gap beautifully on Friday, and we had a nice push yesterday. And so I see room back up to 181. here on Apple. If we can continue to move higher and we see another continuation candle today, which would simply be breaking over yesterday's high a day, right? That could give us some confirmation to take this long up towards around 181 if we break yesterday's high a day. Just like yesterday, we were waiting for Apple to break Friday's high a day at 178.64 to give us confirmation that we can see a continuation move to the upside. Same thing applies today, right? We want to see a break over yesterday's high a day to give us some confirmation that we can see a continuation up towards around that next level of resistance, which will put you right around 181 here on Apple. Okay. And so again, what can you expect? Yesterday, all we were doing on Apple was waiting for a break over Friday's high a day to give us confirmation of that continuation. What did we see take place? We came up, we broke Friday's high a day, we squeezed, we pulled back, we retested Friday's high a day as intraday support. We held, we bounced for a nice trade. That's all you're looking for today. If you expect to see the markets move higher, right, and Apple is going to move higher as well, and that's the overall market movement today is again to the upside, all you really need to do is wait for that break over yesterday's high a day. That's going to give you confirmation that we could see buyers step back in for another continuation to the upside. We have room towards around 181, and that break over yesterday's high is going to be 179.70. And we can see an example from yesterday on how we could trade it. You could buy the breakout and then scalp that move on up. I don't like buying breakouts because I can't tell you how many times I've entered a breakout trade and it was a false breakout and it dumps on me. I don't like taking breakouts. I would rather wait for the breakout, right? Actually make sure it's going to break out, gauge the strength of the breakout as well. And if I say, hey, it broke out in a strong breakout, most of the time the stock will retest the breakout level, retest that prior resistance level as support. So, hey, as it's breaking out, I'm just watching it. I'm gauging how strong the move is. And then again, just waiting to see if it pulls back to retest that breakout level as support. And if it comes back and retests that level, that's where I'm looking to get in. That's a higher probability trade, right? Breakouts aren't 80-20, right? Breakouts are not 80-20 at all. A lot of times you get those false breakouts followed by those really massive drops. So I rather wait for an 80-20 setup. Breaks and retests off key levels of resistance, those are 80-20 setups. Okay, so I'd rather wait for the retest and then get long for the move on up. And that's exactly what you could have been doing yesterday there on Apple. So same thing applies today. If we're going to get that continuation to the upside, you want to see a break over 179.70 at some point, pull back and retest it as support. That'll give you a pretty nice high probability setup along that retest. And then you could take it long up towards around that 181. That gives you about $1.30 of potential to the upside here on Apple. And it gives you very low risk like yesterday, right? Where's your entry? Along the retest. Where's your target? You're probably targeting some of these prior highs, whether that's high a day or this lower high. That's most likely going to be your target, one of these two highs. Okay. And then you know your stops go right underneath that level of support. If it comes down and bounces and then cracks, you want to get out immediately. But you can see how your risk reward is beautiful on the retests, right? Your risk is nice and low and you have great upside potential. Okay. So same thing applies today. Look for the break, look for the retest. That's where you would be wanting to get in. You know, you have a target up here right around 181. We'll go ahead and just call it 180.90, right? And you know that stops go right underneath that level of support. Could give you a potential 5-to-1, 6-to-1 setup if this thing even sets up in the first place. So breaking and holding above 179.70 is the first step in the right direction. Get that break, get that retest, hold that level as support, and start to bounce. That would confirm some entries, stops underneath that level of support, and you would have a 180.90 targets here on Apple if we see that take place and if we see the setup. All righty. So that's what we would be looking for today on Apple if it does set up, guys. All right. So that's Boeing. We took a look at Apple. Anything else? Anybody else have any stocks on the watch list that they want to have reviewed? Let's take a look at them. And we got about 5-10 more minutes. About 5 to 10 more minutes of the pre-market rundown, reviewing your stocks. And then we're going to take a look at Tesla. That's going to be on my watch list today. We got Netflix on watch again, and we got Meta on watch. We'll take a deep dive into the SPY and the Qs, and then we'll be looking at TLSA, TSHA, and then DCTH, our top 3 penny stocks for today. So here's the thing with NVIDIA. I took a look at NVIDIA this morning. It's way too overextended. It's super overextended right now at this point in time. So I expect to see a little bit of a pullback today. I really do. And, we do have a lot of this overhead resistance here on NVIDIA. We can see that there's going to be a good deal of resistance up around the 20 EMA, number one, right? We have this 20 EMA overhead. We have this prior spiking high before that nice drop on off. When we broke that level of resistance, we pulled back right here and retested it as support, right? Came here, tested it as support as well. So we can see we have a few touch points right around this like 440 to 441 level here on NVIDIA, right? We have this spiking high before that big drop on off. It was pretty close to resistance here again prior to that breakout. We came down, retested that zone to the penny before we bounced, and retested it here again as well. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 different times that we validated this 440 to 441 level here on NVIDIA. So coming into that zone, that's going to be some resistance. We can clearly see, we could expect a pullback, right? Like we had a massive move yesterday from like 405 upwards of like 435. We moved 30 points plus yesterday on NVIDIA. Could we see it continue to the upside? Absolutely. We could see it squeeze again. But again, there is a lot of resistance overhead on NVIDIA. So it really comes down to the zone. And what is NVIDIA going to do at that zone? Well, would you look at that? It's holding as support in pre-market. So that's fantastic, right? We knew that that was going to be a level of resistance. We see it resistance in post-market. We break above it. Now we see it turning into support. So this is going to be your line in the sand. That is your main level of support, is going to be between 440 and 441 on NVIDIA. What you would like to see is NVIDIA open, pull back into that level as support. And as long as it holds, then you could look to take it long back into these pre-market highs. And those pre-market highs are right around 447.55. So that would give you about 6 to 7 points of upside potential here on NVIDIA. Just being patient, waiting to see it open, and then ideally pull back into that level, hold as intraday support, and then start to bounce. And if we see that take place, we know we have room into the 447s. That gives you 6 to 7 points, of upside potential. And this is going to be a great level of support, right? We identified this level as resistance. We have the 20 EMA sitting right here as well, but we're actually gapping above that level. Okay, so that's going to be your main level of support. Where can we see NVIDIA go, right? That's like the $1 million question. Like, where can we see NVIDIA go? Well, I see a big downtrend on NVIDIA, right? So I see this big downtrend here on NVIDIA at this point in time. So I would say we're going into the downtrend. So I would say NVIDIA has potential to get up towards around, if we do break that 447.50 level, right? In 447.50, that's just your pre-market highs, right? So if we break that level, obviously 450 is going to be a level of resistance here on NVIDIA, right? It's a psychological level. But I would say, looking at these higher time frames, that if we break those pre-market highs of 447.50, we rip up to 450 and break 450, where do I think NVIDIA could be going? I would say up towards around like 455. That's going to put you into this prior level of support that turned support again, support here, then turned resistance a few times. That's right in line with the downtrend. So I would say 455 makes a lot of sense. That's going to put you back into this prior level of support, prior level of resistance, and it would put you back into this downtrend as well. I would say that would be like your main targets on NVIDIA to the long side if we do see it continue to push and rip and run again today. That would be the next major area of resistance to where you can see NVIDIA get to before actually seeing a nice drop and a nice pullback. Okay, so here, again with NVIDIA, let's go ahead and sum it up. Okay. For me to really want to take a trade to the long side today on NVIDIA, I would like to see it open, pull back into that 440 to 441 support level, hold on up. And as long as we do hit that level and bounce, then hey, we know we have room back up to 447.50. We break 447.50, we have room to 450. And if we break 450, we have room to 455. So that's going to be trade idea number one if we do come down and hold this level and then start to bounce. Or NVIDIA is just going to open, start to spike all the way up into that resistance level and that downtrend, right? And then we would just be looking for those puts off that level for the drop on back down. So if we don't open and drop into support for long entries, we'll probably be more or less hands off at the start of the day, let it get up into that main level of resistance right around that downtrend as well. And if we see it come up and hit that level and start to roll on over, that would make for a really, really good short opportunity here on NVIDIA. So your line in the sand, your main level of support between 440 and 441, your main level of resistance up towards around 455 today here on NVIDIA, baby. Right. So let's keep this one on watch. It's definitely hot. It's a massive day yesterday, big time move, and we could see a little bit of continuation again to the upside today into these next levels of resistance. And here's what I want to do. I actually want to remove that line and then draw up a zone here and connect these points just a little bit better here and really just get all those points connected. Let's take that back into a 4-hour. Let's really tighten up that zone. And yeah, so the top end of that zone actually puts you at like 456.58. So the top end of that level of resistance that we're identifying, the top end of that zone is actually 456.65. And that is actually right in line with the downtrend. I mean, it's beautiful. Hits that downtrend to the penny. So let's make sure that downtrend is set. That's a good downtrend. We can see that if we get up to the top end of that zone of resistance right here, right, we know that that's going to be a great area. That's going to be off downtrend resistance. That's going to be off prior support resistance as well. That would be a great area to look for a short. So I'm going to readjust that 455 level, and I'm going to adjust it on up to 456.50. Okay, so the main level of resistance is no longer 455. That's what we were saying. But after looking at it further, I believe your main level of resistance would be 456.50 because that is the intersection point between the upper level of resistance and the downtrend. 456.55 would be the main level of resistance today that if we hit, we could see NVIDIA top on out, roll on over, and that would make for a good short there on NVIDIA, guys. Yeah, and that's pretty dialed in. I'm pretty confident in that level. So the top end of that zone, yeah, 456.55. If we hit 456.55 and we hit that downtrend and we top on out and roll on over, I would consider looking for some put contracts today on NVIDIA if that's where we get. Or let it come on down into support. Let's see if it holds. If so, I'd be looking to play some calls up into that 456.55 level. They're on good old NVIDIA once again, guys. And then lastly, before we dive into the morning game plan session and start reviewing a lot of my watch list today, let's take a look at Amazon. So you're going to have some of this lower support down around like 137 to 137.10. I highly doubt we get all the way down into that level. It looks like we're going to start curling on up and, possibly come through and start breaking over yesterday's, high day and yesterday's close. So that's where I would basically start. It's just coming in here, marking up these two key levels. So we're going to get all those points connected. So that's going to be last Tuesday's open prior to starting to see this initial drop on off. That's very, very close to Thursday's high day, and it is yesterday's high day and yesterday's close as well. And then if you look left, support's going to be back down at like 137. So if you think that Amazon is going to have a continuation day today, which across the board, it looks like a lot of these stocks could see nice continuation days. I mean, massive move with NVIDIA yesterday. You're taking a look at the SPY. The SPY could very well push on up and move higher today as well. So, if we do see these continuation days and we continue to push higher, then I would say you need to see a nice little break and hold over yesterday's high a day and yesterday's close, that's going to put you right around like 140.57 to 140.62, right? So if we can see Amazon get a break over that zone and then hold that zone as support here intraday, you can definitely look to catch this long back up into your next main level of resistance. And I would say that's going to be first back into last Monday's close. That's 142.23. So what does that give you as far as reward? If we break and hold yesterday's high day and close, that would give you a roundabout entries right around like 140.55. You do have room up towards around 142.21. That gives you about $1.66 of reward to the upside. If we get that break and retest, we know stops would go right under that level of support. So let's say you want to give it, I don't know, 40 cents of breathing room. Let's say that's what you want to do. You want to give it enough breathing room. 40 cents is a lot of breathing room along this break and retest. You got about $1.66 of upside potential. That puts you at a 4-to-1. And that's giving it enough breathing room, more than enough breathing room there on Amazon. So that's what I would do today on Amazon is if I think it's going to be a great long today and the market's moving higher, showing some strength, a simple break and retest, you can get the ball rolling. You have some great room to that 142.23 level. Okay. But if we do come up into that level and we fail to break above it, you may be able to catch a nice put back down into this low from yesterday, right around like 138.56. So if we fail to break that level and we roll on over, then hey, you could definitely see it pull back into this low from yesterday. And again, that's going to put you down around 138.50 there on Amazon. So I would say this is going to be the line in the sand, right? This is your make or break level right here that we've been talking about. If we can break it and hold it, play calls. If we come up into it and we fail to break it and we roll on over, you could simply look to play puts off that level. That is going to be your line in the sand here on Amazon. Again, that's going to be between 140.57 and 140.62. And again, that is simply yesterday's close, yesterday's high a day, and then we come back and connect Tuesday's open as well to give us a nice zone of support resistance that we could trade off of. All right. So I would just really be focusing on that zone. If we can break it, hold it, we have great opportunity to the long side and see a third day of continuation on up. Or we may start to pull back a little bit off that level, and we know we have some room at least back down into some of these lows from yesterday. I would expect to see it back down around like 138.50. That makes a lot of sense to me. So that would be the game plan here on Amazon. But right now, it doesn't look terrible. Right? You're seeing a lot of stocks that look good for another day to the upside. So it's very possible we get that break and hold. And if we see that take place, let's attack Amazon. Let's bring that up into the watch list. I like Amazon. It looks decent. Let's take NVIDIA, obviously, bring it up into the watch list as well. These stocks look pretty good today. All righty. So let's take a deep dive into the SPY. All right. One thing I want to point out is if you zoom out on the SPY, and if you even throw it into like a little bit of a higher time frame, you see that it's finding some really good support and it's starting to curl. You're starting to see a potential U-shape developing here on the SPY, right? Where we've been dropping on off pretty nice here from around, like 160 back down towards around 444. Nice little drop over the last couple of weeks. But what we see here is it's actually trying to find a bottom off these prior highs, right, as support. So we have all of this prior resistance. We had a nice big break above it. And now we've just been seeing it pull back over the last few weeks into that level of support. And we see that it's trying to find a bottom. It's trying to put in this nice big U shape. And we may be able to see it start to curl on back up in the coming weeks here on the SPY if we fail to break below 444, right? 444 is like the line in the sand, guys, right? If we ever see the SPY falling below and staying below 444, and falling back below this prior resistance level, we could see some nice movement to the downside, right? We would have some room down towards around like 442.50, but then your main target would be all the way down at like 437 here on the SPY. So, I mean, your line in the sand, like your higher time frame line in the sand, that's really going to be a make or break here on the SPY for like the rest of this week, coming in the next week, is 444. If we continue to see it grinding that 444 and we start to see it curling on back up, we may eventually get the next leg back into these prior highs here on the SPY if we hold that 444 level. But at any point in time, we see it coming back down to 444 and we lose that level, right? We could see the SPY start to go on its next leg down towards around 437.50. Okay. So your line in the sand here on the SPY, guys, is going to be that 444 level. And that's the main level that I'm really looking at today here on the SPY. Right? I'd like to see the SPY come down intraday into that 444 level. And assuming we hold on up, I expect to see the SPY push back up to yesterday's high a day and yesterday's close. That'll put you at 448. So there's about 4 points of upside potential today, assuming the SPY comes down and holds 444. But at any point in time, we see the SPY failing to hold this 444 level, and let's say it turns into resistance, we know that we want to be looking for shorts, right? Look for some put contracts down to 442.50. And if we ever crack below 442.50, we have a lot of great potential to see the SPY in the coming days and weeks drop all the way down towards around 437.50 on the SPY. So again, to sum it up, to wrap it up, your line in the sand, your make or break for the SPY today, tomorrow, the rest of this week, it's going to be 444, man. That's your make or break. If we hold that level, 448 is realistic. Back up to 450. Back up to some of these prior highs at 453. Those are going to be these upper levels of resistance that we could be hitting next if we hold above 444. If we crack and hold below 444, that's when we start thinking about taking some puts for that next leg down. And we can see that there is a lot of potential to the downside. There's a lot of room to the downside here on the SPY. 444's got to hold. Okay, if we do, we can curl on back up and eventually maybe come up and close this daily gap, right? If we curl on up, we hold that 444, we start to pop, right? We can play calls into this daily gap, expecting this daily gap to get filled. We fall below 444, look at how much downside we have, quite a bit. That's when we start looking for puts here on the SPY, guys. Okay, so 444 is your line in the sands, right? Let's keep that level on high watch today. That's going to be our make or break, and I expect to see some good opportunity down around 444 if we get there today, guys. Okay, right now, upper resistance is going to be 448. And 448 is just yesterday's high a day and yesterday's close. That's going to be your next main level of resistance, is going to be 448 here on the SPY. Okay, if we ever break 448 today, and you're like, hey, man, I'm in calls, baby. I'm getting calls. I'm in calls. I don't know, but you're in it, right? Where can we see the SPY go? 450.72 next, right? So if we are able to break yesterday's high a day and yesterday's close on the SPY and stay above that level, it's 448, we could see the SPY rip up towards around 450 and then 450.72. Those would be some of your upper levels of resistance if we do see the SPY have a nice day to the upside. All right, guys. So you're all set, ready to rock on the SPY. You know your key levels, your most important levels to be focused on today. We know exactly what we need to see in order to get confirmation to take a long or to take a short. Really just comes down to 444 if we get there today. But right now, upper resistance, 448. And if we just open and start to squeeze again today, and we see a nice break and hold over 448, that's when I start thinking about playing some calls up towards around 450.72. If we don't see it come back down to 444 and we just squeeze, I want to see that break and hold. That would give me confirmation to play those calls up towards around that 450.72 level here on the SPY, guys. Okay, so you guys are all set, ready to rock and roll. We know exactly what to expect. All right. You know what, Tesla? Yeah, I'm still 50-50 with Tesla. The only reason I'm watching Tesla is curling back into a lot of this resistance. So we have last Monday's low of day right around this zone. It's between 242 and 243. You got last Monday's low of day, right? You have, a lot of support created at that level Wednesday. We can see it was respected as support in pre-market Thursday. It was our low of day on Thursday, and we can see it turned into a lot of resistance here on Friday. So this 242 to 243 level is going to be the next major level of resistance here on Tesla. Okay, so that's where I could expect to see Tesla get to next, is up towards around this 442 to 443 level. And we can clearly see it was a lot of great prior support all of last week, and then Friday turned into, right, a good deal of resistance. So if we come back into that zone, if we top on out, and if we start to roll on over, guess what? I want to look to play some puts for the next leg down here on Tesla, as we are going to be coming up into a pretty strong level of resistance between 242 and 243. All right. So if we get up there, top on out, roll on over, I'll be looking for put contracts. Other than that, I'm not really looking at anything else here on Tesla. I'm only looking to see if Tesla gets up into this zone of resistance. If it tops on out, rolls on over, I'll take some puts. Other than that, I'm really hands off until Tesla gets up to that zone. If Tesla never touches this zone, I won't be trading Tesla today. All right, guys. So that's an area I want to see Tesla get to. Depending on what happens up here, we may have a trade for some puts. So let's keep Tesla on watch today. All right. We talked about NVIDIA. NVIDIA looking pretty good. I want to keep that one on watch. Talked about Amazon. Amazon actually looking pretty decent after we reviewed it in a little bit more detail. So even Amazon looks pretty good. Netflix is a back burner, right? Yesterday, Netflix was a back burner, right? We were basically stuck inside of this channel here on Netflix. We've just been kind of consolidating in between supports, in between resistance for the past couple of weeks now. And we were just looking for one of two things to happen. Number one, hit that lower level of support and then bounce so we can play calls. Number two, come up into resistance, get rejected so we can play puts. We were looking for one of those two things to happen, or waiting for it to actually crack to the downside. Let it come back down into support and then fail to hold that support level. Friday, we actually cracked below that level of support. What did we see take place yesterday? We pushed back up into that prior support level, and we're starting to see it turn into resistance here on Netflix. Okay, so we were inside of this channel, right? We cracked bottom channel support, and we're pushing back up to retest that support level as resistance. So bottom channel support is now turning into resistance. So if we are unable to get back above this zone here on Netflix, right? If we're unable to get back above that zone and regain it as support, we're not pushing back up to 442. We're not pushing back up to these highs of like 442 to 445. It's not going to happen, right? If we do not see it regain that level and hold a support, it's not going to get that nice big pop. If we continue to see it getting stuck and held down below the zone of support between 426 and 427.70, and we are unable to truly break through this level, and if we are topping on out and we start to see it roll on over, I do want to get short on Netflix, right? Like, it may not be a swing trade opportunity, but at least it could be a great day trade, because if we cannot break this level of resistance, we can definitely be retesting it, and we could see Netflix start to roll on over. What target do I have here on Netflix to the short side if we get confirmation to take this short, right? I see a daily gap fill here on Netflix, and we have a daily gap fill all the way down towards around 410. So if we fail to break back above this zone of resistance, and if we fail to regain it as support, and if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be looking to get short at this level of resistance to come on down and close that daily gap. So I'll be watching Netflix today at the zone. If we stay below it, if we start rolling on over, I will be looking to get short here on Netflix. And one other thing that I see as well that may help give us some extra confirmation to the short side is going to be this downtrend right here on Netflix. So I just want to make sure this trend line is really dialed in. And I'm just utilizing our intraday points, right? We got 2 intraday points. We have this high a day from last Tuesday, high day from Wednesday. We come up and tap that trend line quite a few times on Thursday. And now we're coming back up into that trend line here in post-market, and we see that it was resistance. So not only are we seeing that this is going to be a key level of resistance, right? This prior level of support now turning into resistance, we also can see that it's going to be back up towards around this multi-day downtrend where you have Tuesday's high a day and Wednesday's high a day, giving you 2 valid points to start a downtrend. It was respected Thursday intraday. It was respected Thursday post-market. And we see last night, it was respected as well. So not only do I want to see Netflix stay below the zone of resistance, I also want to see it get held down by this downtrend. If we see that take place, I am playing short, and I am going to take some puts down towards around this 410 level to potentially close the daily gap. Okay, so my ideal short entry would be somewhere around like 427.74. That puts you at the top end of that zone of resistance, right at 427.74. That also puts you right at the downtrend. That gives us confluence, a higher time frame level, a valid level of resistance, and that multi-day downtrend. That would be a great area right here to think about getting short for that potential drop on off today here on Netflix. So that's going to be my game plan today with Netflix, guys. And I want to keep this one on high watch. Again, it could be a great day trade, and who knows, maybe it sets up to be a great day trade that turns into a swing trade. So I still want to think about getting positioned 30 days out, 45 days out, just in case I see a reason to hold this overnight tonight into tomorrow, if I think we can continue the drop and fade and fall. All right, guys. So Netflix is the final stock that has some really, really good potential today to the short side. All right. We got about 4 minutes until the market opens. We got some small caps doing okay, I guess. I'm not really crazy about small caps last week. Not crazy about small caps this week. I just feel like those market conditions have really died on off. It was pretty hot. We started to see market conditions return to average, and now my assessment is below average, right? Conditions are getting a little bit colder in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, TSHA had a pretty nice move yesterday, but really look at the big picture. Most of the move took place in pre-market, right? At the start of the day, leading up to 11 o'clock, it did nothing. It got some lunchtime action, followed by an end-of-day push that ripped there in post-market. So if you really think about it, our prime time of the day is between what? 9:30 and 11:30. The first 2 hours of the day is prime time. The most amount of volume, the most amount of volatility. This stock didn't really do anything until about 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, it started to push a little bit. Over lunch, it consolidated. End of the day, power hour, nice big rip and run. But for the most part, it didn't really do a whole lot yesterday, did it? Right? When we're here between 9:30 and 11:30, it didn't do a lot. But it was definitely a hot stock in, pre-market. It was a hot stock into the day. And it was a hot stock in post-market. So one thing I want to point out is what we've been seeing. Market conditions for small caps is you get some great pre-market activity. At the start of the day, a lot of these stocks have been somewhat choppy and a bit challenging to trade. But then they start to move into the day, and a lot of the activity is post-market, pre-market, right? So if you don't trade post-market, that's fine. Be here at 7 o'clock in pre-market. The early bird gets the worm, right? And honestly, the best of the best opportunity has been to look for great setups and great trades here in pre-market, knowing that most of these stocks at 9:30 chop around and don't provide you with a lot of opportunity at the start of the day. So let's see what they look like. Okay, maybe we get some action. Maybe things start to heat back up, but we know that the best opportunity the last week and a half has been in pre-market or towards the end of the day in power hour. All right. You got DCTH on watch today, looking for a simple break and retest above 619 for that leg up to $7. It's that simple. If we can break and hold 619, take it long to $7. Great opportunity to see a nice little 80-cent push to the upside here on DCTH. We'll be keeping this one on watch. Lower support is going to be back down at 475. TSHA, right? Hot stock in pre-market yesterday. Choppy at the start of the day. Didn't really do a lot. Ended up squeezing into the day and then making a big, massive move here in post-market. Okay, not really doing a lot in pre-market, but we are sitting above a very nice level of support. That's going to be yesterday's high a day, yesterday's close, and a lot of resistance from post-market yesterday as well. Okay, we had a lot of resistance yesterday's high day, yesterday's close, and we see that level validated as post-market resistance prior to breaking through that level. We came back this morning and hit that level to the penny and had a nice bounce. We want to see 223 hold on up as support. Okay, so if we can open on up, if we can stay above 223, we could see a nice push back up to those post-market highs, right? And post-market highs are going to be up towards around 290. So if we can hold above 223, get long on TSHA for a spike on up towards around 290 today, guys. So those are going to be the top two penny stocks that we'll be watching, right? TLSA, I'm 50-50 with it. TLSA must break $1. It must pull back and retest $1. Then you can get confirmation to play this long to 125. You're looking for a break and retest above $1 to get long here on TLSA up to 125. TSHA, as long as you stay above 223, you do have room back up to those post-market highs, which is pretty close to $3. If you ever see a $3 break, you have room to 5 on TSHA. And then lastly, DCTH. You want to see a break and retest above 619. If you see that take place, you can confidently get long up to $7 here on DCTH, guys. All right, so we are all set, ready to rock and roll. I'm going to be watching the SPY, maybe back down around that 444 level. Right now, we'll just kind of see what the SPY does at the start of the day. And then I'm watching good old Tesla, NVIDIA, and Amazon and Netflix right at the start of the day. All right, guys, so we're all set, ready to rock and roll. Market is open, and let's crush the day. All right, couple things that you guys need to be aware of, though, on the economic calendar is you do have a couple events today to be mindful of. Okay, so here today at 10 o'clock, you do have business inventories month over month. It is of medium importance, but it is still data that you guys got to be mindful of. You got a data drop at 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock, you got Fed Kashkari speaking. So at 11 o'clock, you got a Fed member speaking. That's something that could move the market as well based on his remarks and what he says. So 10 o'clock, you have a data drop. Be mindful of that. Okay, 11 o'clock, you have a Fed member speaking. That could move the market as well, depending on his remarks and the statements that he makes. So 10 o'clock, notate that. 11 o'clock, notate that. You're all set, ready to rock and roll, guys. All right? Let's have an amazing day. Let's crush the market. Take only the best of the best setups, knowing that the money will follow. Let's crush it. Let's have an amazing day. Let's get to work, team.